Hello and welcome to another video in our multiplayer blueprint course. In this video we'll make the tank projectile, but before we start making the projectile, let me just fix the lookup input. Let's open the mapping context and go to the lookup and delete this one, the negate. I made this mistake last video. So now when you look down, the tank looks down. It's better now, the controls are better. Now let's start making our projectile. Basically, the projectile is an actor blueprint that has a projectile movement component. So let's start, go to the blueprints. And here let's make a new folder, call it projectile. Let's open it and let's go to create blueprint class. We'll select the actor. Let's call it BP projectile, because later on we will make a specific projectile by making a child blueprint from this master one. We'll make specific projectiles for the Abrams, for the T72. Now let's open the projectile. Here what we need three things. First, we need a collision component. So let's look for I will use box collision. Box. Let's drag it to make it the default scene route. Then we need a static mesh. Static mesh is just for the visuals of the projectile. You can put anything you want, but for me I will use a sphere. Let's find sphere, shape sphere, and let's decrease its scale, maybe 0.25. Let's change the view to the right side. Let's drag it down and make it in the center of the box, and let's make it smaller. Remember to lock this scale to make all the components of the scale to change together. Here let's change this one to 1 and decrease it, put it here in the center. Now let's change the size of the box. For the Z we want it to be smaller, like this one, make it 6. Let's change to the front view, and for the Y also decrease its size, make it 6. If you want to change this the x-axis, for me I will decrease it a little bit, make it like 15 or 16, and that is enough. Then we need to add a projectile movement component. Projectile movement. Now, before we do any coding, now let's first go to the box and change the collision properties. First, we need to activate this one, simulation generates hit events. Then go to the collision presets and change it to custom. Here change this one to collision enabled, query and physics. We change this one because this box by default it is an overlap box, so we need to change the properties for the collision and make it able to collide with the physics objects like our tanks, and also collide with a static objects, and also collide with line traces and everything. For the object type here, this channel, let's add a new channel for our projectile. So how do we do this? Let's go to the projectile settings and look here for object channel. Here is one object channel. Let's add a new object channel. The default response will be block, so it will block everything, and we will change this accordingly. Like for the projectiles, we do not want the projectiles to collide with each other, so we will disable the collision for the projectile only. Let's call this one projectile and accept. Now let's go back to our blueprint and press compile again. Now we choose this projectile drop option. Now we change also this one to block everything except the projectile. Like I said, we do not want the projectiles to collide with each other. Now we are finished with the collision of the projectile. Then we go to the static mesh here. Let me just change this name. Let's call it box collision. And for the static mesh, call it shell mesh. Now for the here, now for the static mesh, we wanted to ignore everything, so we select no collision. We only want the static mesh here, only want it for visual purposes. And let's change its material. Let's find its material and go. Let's press this to browse to its location. Now let's find our tank here and take this one here and copy it to our projectile to our tank game file. Change its name, so we'll change its name to shell material. Wait for it to load. Now let's open it, and here I will change we want this emissive color. First of all, let's see here. Okay, but let's try it. Now we want the emissive color. So we want to increase the value of the emissive color, and let's make the base color to be red. So make it red. Now it is red, and now let's increase the emissive color value. Scalar parameter, increase it maybe 1 or 10. Let's multiply it by the red value. Or yes, now let's increase the default value, maybe 50, make it glow like it's a projectile, like it's a shell. For the roughness, let's delete the roughness, we do not need it. We need more light, maybe 1000. Yes, I think 1000 is better. Now let's wait for it to load. Now let's go back to our projectile and change its material to shell underscore material. No, without underscore. Shell material. Now let's go to the projectile movement here. Let's put our initial speed. I'll put it to maybe 10,000. The max speed, which is the velocity, the terminal velocity, like we said, or if you set them to be the same, the projectile will keep going and will not drop to the ground, especially if you decrease the gravity scale. But in reality, the projectiles lose speed when they are on the flight. So I will make it 7,500 the max speed. And here let's take this one for rotation follows velocity, so that the rotation of the projectile will follow the direction. So how we say it, like, and the projectile will keep its direction like this. Let me just hit simulate and show you. Simulation, it's going like this. If we do not take this one, sometimes it will flip and maybe go sideways, so make it follow the velocity. Now also let's decrease the projectile scale, gravity scale. Maybe let's make it for 0.1. You can use whatever value you want. I will use 0.1 to make the projectile go far without increasing the velocity a lot. Now here in the before we put any other code in our projectile, let's spawn our projectile here in the tank. First let's add an input. Well, we already have an input, so let's go back to the tank blueprint. Here, input action, look for input action, shoot. Here when we shoot, we need to spawn the projectile. So because we want it to be a multiplayer game, so any new actor spawned should be spawned on the server. So let's make a custom event. Let's call it server spawn projectile. Here go to make it run on server and reliable. This one we want it to be reliable because it is an important event, the spawning of the projectile. So this should spawn no matter what happens. So here spawn actor from class. Let's projectile. Let's find projectile, BP projectile. And here let's promote this to a variable. It is better to put it here in the event. It's called projectile. It is better, like I said, to put it here in the event, so that when you spawn the projectile, the server will validate the class if it is present or not, so that it will prevent cheating. And the spawn transform also put it here in the event. Change this one to always spawn. For the owner, this one here, it is important in multiplayer games. Like I said before, you should set the owner to self, because this blueprint, the tank, it spawned this projectile, so it will be the owner of it, and this will help us do some stuff like give this tank, when it destroys another tank, give this tank a points for destroying other tanks. So it will help us track the owner of the projectile to give him bonus points. And for instigator, get instigator, you can choose any one of this. Now let's comment here. Let's call it spawn projectile. And let's call this event here. We need to check if it is pressed, because if you use the trigger without this boolean, it will fire twice. So here let's choose this server spawn projectile and put this one here. It's better to make it replicated so that everyone will know your class and it will be able to be validated by the server. And let's change its name, call it projectile. Well, it's better to change this to bp underscore projectile. Why I do this? Because if you leave it if you leave its class as an actor, when you press this drop down, you will get all the actors of the game, and you will sometimes keep searching for the projectile. Sometimes you will be mistaking and put another thing, and it will cause some errors. So it is better to put the projectile, and when we make child blueprints of this projectile, it will show here also. Now for the spawn transform, let's get the mesh and get socket transform. You want the socket of the gun socket. This one, socket transform, put it here, leave it as RTS world, and let's get the socket name. Let's go to the tank mesh and look for the gun socket. This one. Let's copy it and go back to our tank and put it here, paste. Also, let's promote this to a variable because later on we will make child blueprints of this tank, so we need to modify these values later on. Also make it replicated. And let's put the projectile and the socket name in category. Let's make a new category for the socket name. Let's call it tank properties. Tank properties. Also for the projectile, also put it in the tank properties. Better. This is better for it's better for organization of our blueprint. Sometimes we come back and we see a big mess of blueprints and of nodes, and we do not know what we did. So it's better to organize our blueprints. Now let's test our game here. Let's start. Now I will move in front of the other tanks. Let me first shoot. Well, you saw the projectile. Let's see if the other vehicle can see it. Well, Well, we forgot an important thing. Even if you use the server reliable and run on server, if you do not set the actor to be replicated, so here look for replicate class. For the class defaults here, the actor should be replicated and also replicate movement. This was a big mistake. And also let me increase the size of the projectile a little bit because it is too small. Box collision also, let's increase the size of it, make it 10, and here make 20. And for the shell, let's increase its size to 0.3. Well, let me just .2, less than 0.2, 1.175. Let's go back to our material and let's test. Now it should work. Here I am the server. I will move in front of these tanks and I will shoot. Well, I think they saw it. We shoot this tank. Well, it is very fast, but I can see it. Let me shoot another one here. You see other vehicles, they see the projectile. Now let me try the client. If it shoots, now it is shooting. Let me try the other client. Let me move in the front of the other tank to make sure it is shooting. Now it is shooting. I think this is enough for this video, and because it is becoming very long, I was planning to make short videos like 10 minutes, but some things are takes a lot of time, so it's better to make them in one video, better than making multiple videos. So we are finished for this video, and we'll make for the next video we'll continue making our projectile, and we will make the explosions and the sound and the sound effects and the particle effects. Also we will make the reload and the check for if we have a projectile ready or not. So see you on the next video.